Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz. This is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Thursday, July 4th, 2024. Happy 4th of July to everyone. Hope you enjoyed the day. We got a full day of baseball starting with afternoon games running through the evening. And if you like what you see, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. And of course, if you're looking for my best bets, including my rundown best bet in the MLB, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Thursday in baseball. First up, the New York Mets taking on the Washington Nationals. Jose Quintana and Jake Irvin are your starters. Jake Irvin's pitched really well for Washington, especially recently. He's got 3.03 ERA overall this season. Now, at home, he hasn't been as strong, but I still think he's a good option in this game. And the Mets have been red hot recently, but more so against lefties, in my opinion. They've still been solid against righties, but Jose Quintana, I don't love him on the road with an ERA above 5.6. I think the Nationals can get to him. Now, Quintana's been pretty profitable recently, but 3 of those last 4 starts, which were all wins for the Mets, 3 of those 4 were at Citi Field. So I'm going to go with the Nationals in this game on the money line. Next up, the St. Louis Cardinals taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. We're going to see Andre Pallante and Martin Perez as your starters. I haven't really liked what I've seen from Martin Perez this season. He made his first start back from injury in that last game against the Braves. Gave up 6 earned runs, a home run, and 8 base hits in only 4 innings of work in a 6-1 Pirates loss. The Pirates have now lost 4 of his last 5 starts. And the Cardinals have not been great against lefties this year, but I still think they can get to Perez for a few runs early. And Pallante's actually been pretty solid recently. I mean, he had that one bad start against the San Francisco Giants back on June 20th, but still ended up being a Cardinals victory. It goes to show you, this Cardinals bullpen's solid. The lineup's improved. The Cardinals have won 3 of his last 4 starts. I'm going to go with the St. Louis Cardinals in this game on the money line. Next up, the Cincinnati Reds taking on the New York Yankees. Frankie Montas and Marcus Stroman are your starters. Don't really love this game, but if I had to lean, I would take the Yankees, lay the 1.5 runs. I know it's not been easy to take the Yankees recently. They've definitely underwhelmed in the last few series, but I think Marcus Stroman, a good bounce-back spot for him. He was able to get the run support in that last game, even though he struggled, and a 16-5 Yankees victory, and they've won 4 of his last 5 starts. All 4 of those wins were pretty much blowout wins, 8-5, 10-1, 8-3, and 16-5. So they're getting the run support for Stroman. I think they do so against Frankie Montas. Don't really love him on the road. Don't really love him at Yankee Stadium. I still believe in this Yankees lineup against right-handed pitching. Give me the Yankees on the run line. Next up, the Houston Astros taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Framber Valdez and Chris Bassett are your starters. Now, the Blue Jays have not been great against lefties in the last month, but I still think with Chris Bassett on the mound, pitching at Rogers Center, he's going to be able to put them in a good position to have a chance to win this game. And I'm going to take Toronto on the money line this one. Framber's not been great on the road. We saw that last one against the Mets at Citi Field, 6 earned runs given up, 10 base hits to go with it. Now, the Astros were able to win that game in the end, but Chris Bassett, his last 5 starts have been excellent. And really, he has an ERA 3.24 on the year, but his last 2 months have been sub-3 ERA baseball. In May and June, and the month of June, he went 37 innings, 1.95 ERA. Give me the Blue Jays in this one on the money line. Next up, we see the Boston Red Sox taking on the Miami Marlins. Nick Pivetta and Kyle Tyler are your starters. Tyler's pitched well so far, but it's a small sample size, 10 2/3 innings, a 3.38 ERA. He's pitched in 3 different games. The Marlins are 1-2, though, in those 3 games. And it goes to show you that their offense not really doing much. We saw that in the last game against the Phillies for Tyler, where he pitched 4 2/3 of 1-run ball, 4 strikeouts, kept the Marlins in that game. They got shut out 2-0, the final score. Nick Pivetta has not been great, but his team has been able to back him up offensively. They've won 4 of his last 5 starts, and he's still given up 3 earned runs or fewer in 3 of those last 5 games. So he's not in miserable form. I mean, the last game against the Padres, certainly not his best, but I think he bounces back here, especially on the road at a more pitcher-friendly ballpark like Lone Depot instead of Fenway Park like his last game. So give me the Red Sox in this game on the run line. Next up, the Chicago White Sox taking on the Cleveland Guardians. We're going to see Drew Thorpe and Ben Lively as your starters. Drew Thorpe has actually pitched really well recently. We know he wasn't his best in the first few games in his major league career, but his last 2 starts were 12 innings combined of 2-run baseball, only 4 base hits. Both quality starts, both wins outright for the White Sox, 5-1 and 5-3. The Guardians are a tough matchup, but I think Thorpe pitches pretty well in this game, and I think the White Sox can get to Ben Lively. You know, Ben Lively, somebody I mentioned, I do have regression concerns for. That last game against the Royals, he pitched well until the end of that outing where he gave up back-to-back triples, and that was enough for the Royals to go on to win that game 2-1. I think this is going to be a close game, pretty low-scoring game. I think there's value taking the White Sox plus the half a run in the first 5 innings. Next up, the Detroit Tigers taking on the Minnesota Twins. Kenta Maeda and Bailey Ober are your starters. Bailey Ober really has found his game, and after the miserable start to the year, his ERA still has a 4.3 next to it, but he's been a different pitcher recently. In the last game against Seattle, 6 innings of 1-run ball, 9 strikeouts in the end. I think he pitches well against one of the weakest lineups in baseball. Kenta Maeda, don't really love what I've seen from him this year, especially on the road with an ERA above 8.5. The Twins have been red hot offensively. I got to go with Minnesota here, laying the 1.5 runs. Next are the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the Chicago Cubs. Christopher Sanchez and Jameson Taillon are your starters. I'm going to lean towards the under in this game, but also I think the Phillies grab the win in the end. I think Sanchez is a slightly better option to start this one. I also think the Phillies have the much better bullpen in this game. Taillon's pitched well recently, but he doesn't always get that run support. The bullpen doesn't always, we've seen a lot of blown leads recently for the Cubs and overall this season, really. And even though Taillon's pitched well, giving up 3 earned runs or fewer in each of his last 4 starts, the Cubs are still 1-3 in those last 4 starts. So I'm going to go with Philadelphia in this one on the money line. Next up, the Texas Rangers hosting the San Diego Padres. We're going to see Michael King and Max Scherzer as your starters. I'm going to take a shot here with the San Diego Padres on the money line. Michael King, we've mentioned how inconsistent he's been and how tough to read he's been, but he's been really solid on the road this year with a sub-3 ERA. At home at Petco Park is where he struggled mostly with that ERA of 4.64, but on the road, 57 innings, a low opponent's batting average, right around a strikeout per inning, and a 5-2 winning record to go with it. Scherzer's pitched well so far, but it's a small sample size to start his season after the injury. The Padres, while their offense hasn't been amazing, recently, still in the last 30 days, they're top 10 in OPS against right-handed pitching, number 6 in isolated power, low strikeout rate to go with it. I think there's value with San Diego in this one. Give me the Padres on the money line. Next up, we see the Los Angeles Angels taking on the Oakland Athletics. We're going to see Roansy Contreras and J.P. Sears as your starters. Sears has not fared too well at home this year. He's got an ERA above 5.2 at home, and I do think the Angels, it's a slight lean for me with the Angels on the money line. I think they'll be able to get to him for a few runs. They haven't been a great lineup, though, against left-handed pitching recently. The A's have struggled mightily against right-handed pitching, which they face here in Roansy Contreras. I expect a lower-scoring game, but I do think the Angels grab the win in the end. Next up, we see the Baltimore Orioles taking on the Seattle Mariners. Corbin Burnes and Bryce Miller are your projected starters. We got 2 really good starting pitching options on the mound on paper in this game and pitching at a very pitcher-friendly ballpark in T-Mobile Park. However, I actually like the over. I think because of the starting pitchers, we're getting a really good price on the over. Corbin Burnes has pitched really well this year. However, recently, haven't loved what I've seen from him, especially in that last game against the Rangers. I think the 7 innings, 1 run was very deceiving. The Rangers had 9 base hits in that game, a lot of base hits early, a lot of sharp contact. They had a home run as well. He only had 5 strikeouts in those 7 innings, makes it back-to-back games with less than a strikeout per inning for a strikeout-dependent starter. For me, that's really concerning. I mean, you look at the expected batting average for the Rangers in that game against Corbin Burnes, it was very, very high. At one point through I think 3 or 4 innings, it was above 450 for the Rangers. So the defense was able to help him out, and the Orioles bats, of course, got to John Gray in that game. But Burnes, he concerned me in that one. And I know the Mariners have not been amazing offensively, but a lot of that's been because of the strikeouts. If Burnes isn't able to get those strikeouts, I think Seattle can make him pay for a few runs. Bryce Miller, also a guy that I'm worried about regression-wise. The Orioles have been the number 1 lineup in baseball for the last few months against right-handed pitching. I think we see a high-scoring game. I like the Orioles to win it in the end, but give me the over. Next up, the Atlanta Braves taking on the San Francisco Giants. Logan Webb and Charlie Morton are your starters. I'm going to roll with San Francisco in this one. I mean, Logan Webb has been pitching really well for the Giants his last 5 games, 3 earned runs or fewer in 4 of those 5. Now, he's been better at Oracle Park, but I still think he pitches pretty well in this start. Charlie Morton's been tough to read this season. He's been very inconsistent. The last game was excellent against the Pirates. The previous game was not against the Yankees, giving up 5 earned runs and a homer. In the month of June, he was kind of all over the place for Atlanta. He ended with a solid 3.1 ERA, but I think this is a tough matchup for him. I think both of these bullpens are solid, but I think the value lies with San Francisco in this one. Give me the Giants on the money line. Next up, we see the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Colorado Rockies. Tobias Myers and Cal Quantrill are your starters. Tobias Myers, a young starting pitcher with no Coors Field experience. He's below league average in average exit velocity, expected ERA, expected batting average. I think there's some regression concerns there, and I think the Rockies get to him early and often. And Cal Quantrill's been excellent at Coors Field this year. 40 innings of work to have an ERA of 4.05 for a losing team like this is exactly what it's more than you expected from Cal Quantrill this year. And I think he pitches well, even though his last game wasn't his best. I think he bounces back, and I think the value firmly lies with the Rockies in this one. Give me the Rockies at a great price. Next up, we see the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Kansas City Royals. Zach Eflin and Alec Marsh are your starters. Alec Marsh has been really strong at Kauffman Stadium this year. He's 4-1 with a sub-4 ERA, 3.3 through 43 and 2/3 innings. Zach Eflin, we've mentioned, don't really love backing him on the road. Alec Marsh is 4-1 at Kauffman. Eflin's 1-4 on the road with an ERA above 5. And his last road start against the Pirates was 7 innings, but 4 earned runs given up in a 4-3 Rays loss. I got to go with the Royals in this game on the money line. And the final game we're to talk about for the Thursday card in Major League Baseball, it's the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers. Zach Gallen and Landon Knack are your projected starters. Now, we've heard a lot about Zach Gallen not pitching well on the road, and he's been a lot better at Chase Field so far this year and even last year. But you got to remember, before his injury, the last couple of road starts that he put together were pretty solid. Against the Reds on May 7th, 6 innings of shutout baseball, only 1 base hit given up, and in a 6-2 Diamondbacks victory. Then the next game against the Orioles at Camden Yards, we know the Orioles have crushed righties this year. Gallen, another quality start, 6 innings, 2 runs in a 9-2 Diamondbacks victory. So, his first start back from injury, it was a home game against the Athletics. He was razor sharp, and the Diamondbacks have been very competitive against the Dodgers this season, especially at Dodger Stadium. Landon Knack's pitched really well, but to me, I think the value lies with Arizona in this game. I'm going to take a shot here with Arizona on the money line. And that's it. Those are the games for the 4th of July in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.